There was a moment when convenience felt like magic. You pressed a button and food appeared. You tapped a screen and the movie started. You signed up once and never had to think about it ever again. No lines, no waiting, no friction. Just smooth, effortless living. At least that was the promise. But somewhere along the way, convenience stopped feeling like a gift and started feeling like a tax. Not a loud one, not an obvious one, but a quiet one. This is a story of how everything got easier and why it somehow costs more than it ever should have. Convenience began as a trade. We gave up a little money to get back time. That made sense. Busy lives, long commutes, two income households, less energy at the end of the day. Delivery apps saved time. Streaming saved trips. Subscriptions simplified life. At first, it felt like a huge win, like discovering a vendor who sells potions right outside the dungeon instead of forcing you to run all the way back to town. Worth it. Then something subtle happened. Convenience stopped being optional. Streaming replaced broadcast, delivery replaced pickup, subscriptions replaced ownership. The default path changed. Try buying software without a subscription. Try watching a show without a platform. Try ordering food without fees, stacked on, you guessed it, more fees. The game no longer asks, do you want convenience? It just assumes you do, and prices everything accordingly. Convenience stopped being a perk, it became the baseline. And baselines are dangerous when they get more expensive every year. Think about how many things quietly bill you every month: music, movies, TV, cloud storage, fitness, meditation, gaming, software, news, delivery memberships, even heated seats in some cars now. None of them feel expensive alone. That's the trick. $9.99 here, $12.99 there, $4.99 just for convenience. Individually, harmless. Together, a monthly gold drain you never agreed to consciously. In game terms, it's death by passive debuffs. Nothing dramatic, just constant background damage. Delivery apps didn't just add convenience, they added layers: menu prices, service fees, delivery fees, small order fees, busy hour fees, and don't forget the tip. A $12 meal quickly becomes a $28 meal. And here's the key detail: the restaurants don't get most of that extra money. The driver doesn't get most of it either. The platform does. Convenience didn't just make life easier, it inserted a toll booth between you and everything else. And once toll booths exist, they don't go away. Fees are fascinating. They are rarely framed as price increases. They're framed more as a separate, unavoidable reality: processing fee, convenience fee, administrative fee. The item didn't get more expensive, it just cost more to access now. Fees are the invisible enemies. They don't show up on the shelf, they appear at checkout when it's too late to back out. In games, that would be called a trap. In real life, it's just business. Here's the hard truth: convenience rarely gets cheaper over time. Once people rely on it, companies stop competing on price and start competing on lock-in, exclusive shows, ecosystem integration, loyalty perks, loss aversion. You're not paying for the service anymore. You're paying to avoid the friction of leaving. It's like being bound to a faction you didn't choose. Switching costs more than staying, so price creeps upward, slowly and quietly. And because the increases are small, people absorb them instead of resisting. This is where the story deepens. Convenience doesn't drain money, it drains awareness. When everything is automatic, you stop noticing where your resources are going. Money leaves without pain. Time disappears without memory. Choices happen without reflection. Life becomes smoother, but also blurrier. And blur makes it harder to feel in control. That loss of control feeds anxiety, not panic, just a low hum of unease. I make decent money. Where is it all going? Convenience costs matter more now because margin is much thinner. When rent, food, healthcare, and debt already consume most income, the extra fees don't feel optional. They feel like insults. You're not splurging, you're coping. Convenience becomes survival, and survival shouldn't be monetized this aggressively. But here we are. This isn't an accident. Modern platforms are designed to remove friction, hide costs, normalize subscriptions, fragment spending, and reduce conscious choice. Not because they hate you, but because that's how you maximize revenue in a saturated world. If a game did this too aggressively, players would complain about predatory design. In real life, we just call it modern business. This story isn't about rejecting convenience entirely. It's about intentionality, choosing which conveniences are worth it, canceling the ones that aren't, picking up food sometimes, owning instead of renting whenever possible, and checking the total, not just the price. Not to be perfect, just to be aware. Awareness is the counterspell. Convenience was supposed to make life easier, not quietly more expensive. If everything feels like it costs more than it should, you're not imagining it. You're living in a world where ease is monetized and friction is sold back to you at a premium. The goal isn't to reject modern life. It's to stop letting invisible costs decide it for you. Because when you see the hidden mechanics, you stop blaming yourself for feeling stretched. And you start choosing your path again. Remember, stay curious, stay stubborn, and do not let convenience quietly drain your gold.